Hello, everyone. I'm Arthur King, and let's talk about the cartoon skeleton. Now, on the left here, we have a skeleton, which is rigid, follows very specific rules of motion because of the body. But a skeletoon, this one mimics movement in a sometimes exaggerated fashion, often bending the rules of motion. A skeletoon is flexible. It's more rigid. It's not as rigid. It's more flexible, and it tries to mimic reality without being reality. That's one of the best things about doing character design and animation design is the fact that you get to create something that is like life, but not exactly life. Because why would you want to animate if you had to make it just like real life? So in essence, a skeletoon is a skeleton for cartoon characters. Now, here I'm going to show you a whole bunch of different kinds of stick figures, ones that you might have seen when you were a kid, or maybe you know somebody that still draws them to this day. These are just generally stick figures with big wobbly heads, scrawny little bodies, sometimes huge big bloated bellies, but oftentimes the appendages, the arms, the legs, the feet, if they are there at all, they tend to be of different sizes, really thin and skimpy, and no human could actually ever look like that. But to a child, it's perfectly natural. It's the most important way that we as human beings can identify and learn to figure out the world around us. And this is exactly what we're doing here, is we're trying to figure out and understand the world around us. And that was okay when we were younger. But now we need to take our drawings to the next step. With this right here, you notice that I'm looking at skeleton body basics. Okay, for these basics here, the man and woman, these are average age bodies of 18 to 60 years old. Bodies that are different shapes are much older or much younger. But now you'll notice that for these characters, the top half of the body and the bottom half of the body, being at their average age, are about the same size, top to bottom, for both the male and the female. Now you'll notice that also for average age character, the elbows come in right at mid-torso, the hands end at mid-thigh, and the feet, they're both pointing different directions. They're not exactly the same. Making parts of the body larger or smaller can push the design into looking like a caricature. It's important to note the difference between an average body versus an exaggerated one. And oftentimes, again, bloated sizes are going to lead to more of a caricature of a body. But right now, let's talk about experimenting with bodies. And when we talk about experimenting with bodies, is that when we draw the Skeletoon, we're drawing something in simple geometric shapes, circles, squares, and triangles. We're giving a little bit of a curve to the body to show a little bit of an arc and give the illusion of weight or emotion. Also, as we draw these characters, we're also keeping in mind that characters themselves are a mixture of certainly different shapes with the circles, squares, and triangles. And traditionally in animation design, that we can look at circles as being more friendly, and we look at squares as being solid, thick, sturdy, and heavy. And we look at anything that is triangular as slightly dangerous. Right? And we see that over and over again in different types of design. Now, my design characters that you'll see here, I like to mix it up a little bit. I like to have a little bit of circles and squares and rectangles that mix it up within the body type. Sometimes you'll find things that are similar, like the second character I drew. But here on the third one, you'll notice it's a long rectangle for a torso, but it's really, really bent, right? Like that torso's bent over, kind of gesturing forward, bending of the knees, sort of leaning on one side, throwing his weight over. It's important that if you are drawing, like I just did right there, how I just adjusted the head, gone back and erased part of it, readjust the head, that's okay to do. Because part of designing a character is really all about staying flexible and not drawing so specific that you feel intimidated that you have to keep it perfect. And if it's not perfect, why, then you're just going to throw the whole piece of paper away. And you don't want to do that. You never learn by doing that. But by being forced to have to deal with it, correct it, and think about what you're doing, you can learn a lot faster in that fashion. You'll notice here I'm drawing a female character. And once again, bending the legs, feet are in different angles. We've got the head coming up. And I think that head probably should come, now that I look at it here, it looks probably should pop forward a little bit more. Here we go. Let's go and adjust that head. See, I knew I was going to do that. Notice that the back of the neck comes up the back of the head, up we call the spine, right? So we have a character at a 45-degree angle, not just standing forward. We really get to see how that spine connects up to the skull so that we don't look like we have a lollipop for a head. Now, what I encourage you to do is to go ahead and watch the rest of the video and take a look and watch how I do the drawings. In your sketchbook, I would like you to go back and copy all of the drawings in your sketchbook. Try to remain to the similar scale and size that I've done here. Keep it simple. Don't be so hard on yourself to think that it has to be perfect. What we're trying to do is just trying to get you to loosen up and play a little bit with different types of body shapes and forms. So you're welcome to go ahead and stop the video and draw along with me as I do, or watch the video in its entirety and then come back and rewatch it again, and the second time through go ahead and do some of the drawings. But again, just trying to get away from just your straight stick figure and trying to get some bulk, some roundness, some thickness to the body, giving it a little bit of bend, a little bit of weight, a little bit of attitude. Note, no faces, no fingers, no clothing. Just simple shapes to convey weight, motion, and attitude. Have fun.